Hello, everyone, and welcome to another edition of the SimSN Podcast, the show where I ask some of my favorite questions to some of your favorite people. And I'm delighted to say that my guest tonight is one of the most loquacious members of our Discord, so that I hope he has a lot to say tonight. So, guest, would you please introduce yourself?
Hi, I'm kgreene, the owner of Arizona Cardinals. Soon to be. Tomorrow the interface opens up for it. So the Marlins and coach of all Tulane things, Colgate and Miami Heat.
Thanks for being on the podcast.
As well as the Panthers and Colgate, as well as the Panthers. I forgot that one. I'm in all the Sims, so that's it's a lot at times.
Yeah, I get so deep in the weeds, especially with the pro football sim. I mean, I still call it the pro sim in my mind. That's how, and I'm like, oh, right. They're like, we got all this hockey going on. We have, baseball and pro basketball, which I was in for a hot second and then realized I had no idea what I was looking at. As a non-sports watcher, anything pro scares me. Once you get into contracts and all that stuff, it's like, oh, this is a different thing. Like, you need to know what you're talking about, and it absolutely does not translate between leagues. Every league is completely different.
That was the biggest thing I was worried about becoming an owner. I started off with the Ravens as a scout, and the biggest thing that I was worried about when jumping to owner was I don't know all of these NFL contract rules. It's I don't know if I'm going to be able to I'm the first contract I offer is going to I was so the first contract I offer is going to be the most outrageous contract ever, and it's going to be this burden to the franchise for years. So I've solved that by I haven't offered a single contract. I've just gone after UDFA guys. So that's how I've kind of fixed that. It hasn't been, especially with the Cardinals, we're not good. So I don't have to work. We have so much money that I don't have to worry. A bad contract won't cripple us because we'll have so much left, and it's we're just gonna we suck anyways. So it's it's not, we can't get too much worse. It's not we've got a $50 million quarterback who is terrible for us. It's the quarterbacks we have right now are terrible, so it doesn't change too much for us.
Yeah, you don't end up with was it Bordeweck or whoever it is, $100 million guard. Yeah, it's not the most simple thing, especially for football, because I think NBA they're all just fully guaranteed, right? It's just you pay someone some amount of money, and that's just it.
The other sims are all I can't remember with hockey because I haven't offered. That's a similar thing where it's we did the draft. Players come in on contracts, and outside of that, I haven't offered a contract. But NBA is fully guaranteed. When MLB comes out, the money in that's fully guaranteed. There's signing bonuses, but that's just money paid up front. So NFL is a little bit different with there's I guess there is retention and other stuff, but it's you got these extra contract rules that aren't in the other sims.
Yeah, it's a lot. But always here to help if people have questions. Tried to make it bearable at the very least. None of this what did they just do with the Falcons, signing a guy to a 3-year deal, but it's actually a 1-year deal because it's a bunch of
Kirk Cousins.
Thank you.
5-year deal, but it's actually a 3-year deal. It's a 1-year deal with a 2-year option, and it's this giant contract, but actually it's only $20 million, and they're only actually paying $10 million of it. And it's I don't know.
Oh yeah, and there's some loophole that they're going to close now because Atlanta abused it to have someone else pay. Yeah, I read half an article about that, and my eyes crossed, and I was like, okay, we're good.
It's I feel in all sports, the money isn't real. It's in baseball, you have deferred money, but it's I think in football it's the worst because it's
Oh yeah.
I don't know, like they do some crazy things with those contracts, and it's like, oh yeah, everyone gets on the Dodgers for like, you have Bobby Bonilla and Shohei. It's like, oh, they're paying him all this money, and it's all deferred like 20 years. But like, I feel like the NFL really goes under the radar. It's like these contracts are like, you need like a PhD to be able to like, be able to like, okay, how much money is this guy actually getting? You
Right.
know?
And even then, how much hits his bank account is not how much you're taking the hit. Like that's its own separate. How much you're actually paying him or have already paid him is also completely divorced from how much you're keeping track of, which is like you say,
Yeah.
also impossibly convoluted. Um,
Mm.
when does Bobby Bonilla stop getting paid? Is it like 2030? How,
Yeah, I don't know. It's coming up. I know that.
okay, it's going to be an interesting day.
I'll look that up.
Okay.
It's coming up, but like obviously, now we have Shohei to kind
Mm-hmm.
of
Carry that torch.
go.
Yeah.
Um,
Why
yeah,
are you
it's actually 2028, so it's really
Oh wow.
close.
Oh man, that's one of those things where like
Oh, sorry. The Orioles pay him until 2028. The Mets are paying him until 2035.
2035.
So
Okay, that's still a ways away. It's just that's one of those years where the first time I ever heard it, I was like, that's an impossible number of years away. And now it's
mhm.
like, well, 9. That's a number I can count on my hands. That's a real number. And eventually that year will come, and I will wonder what happened. Um, um, but yeah,
I don't know. It's like it's a weird thing, but it's like if I can split a $50 million contract up until like I'm paying this guy a year for 50 million years. It's like that's players never going to go for that, but like I can pay a guy $1. Like
hmm
it's like at a certain point these things become very reasonable, and then it's like you're like obviously like oh I can't pay a guy $50 million, but it's like you can work back and be like I can pay a guy $20 a year, and eventually get to that 50 million.
hmm
It's like 50, that's a lot a year, but like that's a lot just to be paying somebody, especially since like I don't own a baseball team. He's not, earning me money, but it's like I can pay a guy $50 a year.
hmm
It's like,
Yeah,
well,
and
I think another thing is like these guys are so rich. Like like with sports, like when you get in the mind of sports, you'll be like, oh, this guy's only making $3 million a year. That's nothing, and it's like that's a lot of money. Like when you think of sports, when you think of these owners, it's like the money just doesn't even feel real.
hmm
Where it's like you see like oh these two teams can't come to a contract agreement. They're off by 50 million. They're off by like 500,000. It's like oh just give him 500,000. Like that's nothing. But it's like if you're you know 50,000 is a lot. I'm sure anyone would like
hmm
if you had to we're fighting with somebody over 50,000 in like everyday life. That's a big deal. You know.
yeah, yeah,
So
life changing amounts of money. That if you think about it for a second, yeah, you realize what that would be but in the context of professional sports, it's like oh, a billion here, a billion there. It's like when they say like the Cowboys are valued at like $5 billion. It's like it's just such an impossibly abstract number to really like. I get that that's a big number, but I can't really put that into any sort of context that makes any sense to me. Um,
mhm.
I mean,
I
because they're
think
not gonna
also
sell
it's
the team and make $5 billion, but so it's all theoretical anyway. Um, but yeah,
another thing is like I don't know. Maybe I'm weird, but like I always think of just like with Elon Musk, and they're like, oh, this is how much he's worth. It's like what do you do with all that money? Like you run out of things to buy. Like a sports team is like one of the very few things where I'm like, okay, that's like something that could actually eat up a
mm,
big chunk of your money. But even then, it's like
yeah. Well, and it used to be just kind of a vanity thing. I have so much money I can spend, $500 million on a team. But even now, it's like, well, no, I need my team to make me. Like, they're not even vanity projects. They are now
mhm.
investments that you expect to get returns on, uh,
Yeah.
which is crazy. Because A, there have to be better ways to do that, and and B, really, you have to you can't just be, I don't know. again, it's
Yeah.
so weird to be like, oh, I need to make some money, so I'm gonna buy a sports franchise and try to get them to win a championship to increase my net worth. I'm like, okay, that's a choice, sure.
Yeah. Was it the Sun? No, it was the Celtics, where it was like a week after they won the finals. The owner sold the team. It
Mm,
was like it's like, oh yeah, like the Celtics also are like, that's such a valuable franchise because of the history. But it's like I don't know, it feels weird where it's like, I feel like maybe I'm romanticizing the past of sports ownership, but like in the past it felt like, oh, when I own a team, it's like, I'm doing everything to win us this championship and be part of the legacy. But it's like, like you said, it's an investment. Like if you sell it right after you win a championship, it's like, oh, he did it, and this is a big payday.
so
That's what,
high,
like,
yeah.
that's not like somebody who cared about the team of like, oh, this is the best team. I want to make the best team because I want to be a good owner, or like I love this team.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And because the team keeps its history and its name and its, well, most of the time, its city, yeah, you think of it as a part of the city, a part of this institution. But no, all the pieces of it come and go, including owners. Um, so
Hmm.
it's not the same entity it was, and can be very different and can pass between a whole bunch of hands. Um, yeah, it's wild. Um, it's funny, and you were talking about funny money. I remember, you read stories of like, for years it was the Saints. They would always get in trouble, and they'd be like, oh yeah, they're entering the new year like 100 million over the cap, and then 2 weeks later it'd be like, oh, they reworked some contracts and removed some guys, and now they're like 10 million under. I'm like, what?
Yeah, I
You
have no
just
clue what the Saints are doing. All I know is just like
did
every
that.
year they're in cap hell, and like it's what I know about it is it's just like, oh, they screwed up, and now every year they have to keep pushing, like it down the road, and like they can't get out of it.
Yeah,
The only way they can get out of it is just like, oh, we're just not going to pay. We're just going to suck for like a year or two, and we're
yeah,
not going to sign any free agents. We're going to trade everyone who's making money. It's like that's crazy.
yeah. I think they kept pulling that lever of, oh, well, we can turn, you know, uh, salaries this year into signing bonus, which spreads it out but fully guarantees it. And they just kept doing that and doing that and doing that. And then so the future cost kept piling up, piling up, piling up until one day they could not kick the ball down the road any further, and it just squashed them. But
Yeah, I
yeah,
think it's the same thing the Eagles are doing. I think the problem was like, the Eagles, and when the Saints did it, made the bet of like every year the league's gonna make money. But then COVID happened, and oh, the league is not making money, and it's
hmm
like now we're in trouble.
yeah, yeah. When the salary cap like shrank one year, it's like, oh, number doesn't go up forever. What do we do when number don't go up? Turns out
Yeah,
everything falls apart.
and now the
Which
Eagles are like, well, we're not gonna have it's not gonna happen a second time. There's no way.
no way that happens twice. God, that reminds me of that. I think it's an XKCD comic where someone pulls a lever and gets hit by lightning, and then it's like normal person is like, I shouldn't do that, and then scientist is like, I wonder if that happens every time as he reaches for the lever again. Oh my gosh. Well, and even the salary cap is another number that like, you go back like 10 years and it's like half of what it is now. Like it's like the NFL salary cap is over like 300 million, I think, or something.
Yeah.
And it's just, again, that's like I mean, I'm trying to imagine if in our sim we were just like, hey, we think we're just going to double the salary cap and sort of see what happens. Like, nothing good.
Yeah. Well, and also, like, again, talking about this just makes me so happy that it's not like this in the sim, but it's like every contract is like, oh, the salary cap goes up. So every year a quarterback's like, oh, well, there's more money to be made.
hmm
It's like I'm going to, every year it's like this player is now making the most money at his position ever. And it's like, yeah, it's historic, but it's like we got to stop reporting on this because it's like this is that's what happens when a guy is up for a contract. He breaks the record. He becomes the new highest paid player at his position or whatever. And when it's a quarterback, he becomes the highest paid player ever. But I saw something where it's like, oh, like even if you look at it, it's like the numbers are just like inflated. So like maybe the players are just like, oh, I want to be the guy, who breaks this record. It's like, oh, I'm not making as much, like you're not actually making as much, but it's like there's ways to inflate the set. Again, I'm so happy that it's not like that because I could never.
Yeah. Yeah, it's crazy when people are looking at Mahomes' like 10-year, $500 million deal and are like, that's actually team friendly because every quarterback after that's going to make more than that per year. And so eventually $50 million a year for a franchise quarterback is going to look like a deal. And like now it does. Like it's like, oh, I'm going to make 50 and a half. I'm going to make 51. I'm going to make 51.2. I'm going to make 51.3. And it's just like, yeah. Yeah, we try to have it a slightly less arbitrary, while still building in, some sense of, players want, still making it so that ideally the best players want the best contracts, but giving you ways around that. And even this year, when the numbers were higher than ever, like it's like, oh, this player wants a value of like 30. It's like, well, but if you get a good deal, you can get it down to 25. And, a value of 25 over 4 years, that's still an actual, only actually like 12 million a year. And even then, in the first year, it could be 9 or 10. You can, and you can push it out to year 5. So at every stage, there are ways to make that number a little bit less and a little bit less.
Yeah. It sounds very, with the sim, it sounds very fun. I hope to spend money one day. Maybe we'll be good enough where it makes sense, but we'll see.
I say this almost every podcast episode, so I hope I am actually right. I do think there's going to be some decent options out there in free agency. I know it's been slim pickings for a couple of years, both just because the player pool was the way it is and because the extensions were really team friendly the way they were run. I do think there's going to be options, especially for teams that don't mind throwing some money at a 29 or 30-year-old.
I'll see. The big thing with the Cardinals is it's like, oh, like the guys hitting free agency are 29 and 30. It's like, oh yeah, that would be a big boost, but it's like, am I really going to spend this money on somebody who I sign him for 5 years, and it's like, oh, we still aren't that competitive for 5 years. It's like, I could do that, and I would we're going to be better because of it. But it's like, trying to weigh that of like, oh, I do, it's not fun being bad. I do want to be competitive, but like, it just, it's like, oh, I'm just wasting time with this guy. Or it's like, oh, if I, even if he's not good, if I play somebody who I draft and they develop and they're getting better, in the long run, that is much better for my team than, the guy who's going to come in, he's going to make his money, and then he's going to be gone, and, that whole time we're still going to be pretty bad.
True.
And, it's like, oh, we have nothing to show for that, money spent. On
the other hand, if it's in the bank, it's not doing any good. We don't have rollover cap or any kind of personal wealth metric. So I don't know. Maybe there's a happy medium. Maybe you can find a couple bridge guys and a couple starters.
Always also like it hasn't come up, but like having that money, it's like, oh well, I know that doesn't work this way in the sim, but obviously in real life, it's like, oh, if you don't spend it, you can pick up some assets for bailing, a team out of, some terrible contract. It's so I think that there's like, it's you don't have to keep it, but it's like at a certain point, it is like having that as an option, could be valuable. But I think Alex Fall said like, oh no, like teams are just better off cutting guys at that point, which may or may not be true.
Maybe not, but
maybe that was for the basketball sim. That could be for the basketball sim because all money is guaranteed there.
Yeah, there is up to a certain amount. There is definitely value in having that kind of flexibility and being able to pull that off. And I think we've seen some teams go right up to the edge very quickly and then not have the flexibility to move around when maybe the season doesn't start the way you think it will, or a certain player doesn't perform the way you think he will, and it's like, well, if you're completely spent, it's like you can't cut anybody. If you've got, if you got to pay him 2-3 years out, and you don't have anything left over this year to cover that in dead cap, so.
Yeah, and I try and keep up with the NFL, but I haven't with Sim NFL, but I haven't been able to keep up with it as much as I want. But like it used to be like, oh, this is it for Denver. They don't have money. They're gonna lose everyone. And it's like, oh, some team, he traded whoever to whoever, and this team totally bailed him out, and he's good, and he's back. He's back in the Super Bowl. So
yeah, it is what it is. Yeah. Yeah, I agree. Every year we say the cliff is coming, and every year they manage to leap over it, or maybe it's not quite as close as we thought. It sure seems like it's this year with retirements and regressions, but hey, we'll know in a few days.
I know we make jokes about him not, having any of his picks, but the actual message I got from him the other day was, here, let me find it. Do the Cardinals have my first rounder next draft? Browns have my first this upcoming draft. I've forgotten what I've traded where.
Oh yeah.
Just like, oh, I don't have any picks. I wonder where they all are. Like,
Oh, it's May 15th. Do you know where your draft picks are? Like, yeah. Yeah, that Denver first has been on a journey, man. I think we're the fourth or even the fifth non-Denver team to have it. So I think Houston had it at some point, and then Carolina got it from them when they traded their lineman, and then I got it from them for Lovejoy. It's been passed around a few times. So yeah, we'll see. Yeah, I'm gonna be glued to my computer next week when the year opens and everyone starts immediately trading all of their picks as fast as possible.
Mm-hmm.
So, how do you? Speaking of the sim, how are you feeling about your first year at Arizona? I don't know that there's another franchise that has had quite as tumultuous a history as the Cardinals.
Yeah, so I don't know. So this was my second, I guess, first full season. I took over like right before the draft last year, but like I didn't get like, that came in. I took over because of the draft trade. So like, the off season had already started. So like, while it is my second season, I see this as like, oh, this is my first full off season. This is my first, real season. But like, it's I kind of mentioned where it's like, oh, like it, like it doesn't make sense for me to sign these guys that are older. Like I gain more by playing these younger guys, but it's like, oh, then the trade deadline comes around. It's like, oh, I really wish, like it's like I don't have any, because I'm playing all these young guys. I don't have anyone good enough. Nobody's like, hey, can I trade for whoever? It's like I don't have anyone good enough. So it's like, I like I said, like, jokingly said, like, I wish I could spend some money, but it's like, I hope, if, I don't know, it feels like I'm kind of outside the sim just because it's like where the state of the team was, it just like, it just was so far off from even the worst teams. I feel like, a big thing was like, and Dearden was here that first year, a big accomplishment is like, when we first took over, it was, oh, here's, the top teams. Here's, these guys are, in kind of the fight for the playoffs. They're the bad teams. And then way over here is Denver. And it's like, now we are grouped with the bad teams. Like, we are, like, just being one of the bad teams is, kind of like, we've come so far in that. I'm happy about that, where it's like, yeah, we're still at the bottom of the league, but it's not like a,
you don't have your own
like
category
we're not
at the
in our
bottom.
own tier.
Yeah.
Yeah. So like, kind of now, building off of that, and like, all right, well now, now we're in. We got our foot in the door. like now let's start this rebuild. Let's see what we can do.
Mm-hmm.
Uh, um,
Yeah, there is kind of a level of FOMO when what you're working with is so different, from the makeup of every other team. Um, and because there are a lot of teams, have a lot of holes, but might have one or two standouts. It's like, oh well, maybe I could flip this guy, for a bunch of picks and plug a bunch of holes at once. Or maybe I could take on, one star and have him make a huge difference because he's like, 10 points better than who I have to keep position. Or maybe he could work with my other good guys,
mm-hmm.
But yeah, when they're all kind of in that mid 60s range, it's hard to make meaningful moves. I get that. Um,
Yeah, and I feel like one of the things is like, oh, when I first came in, we had all these draft picks. I don't even remember how it was, and we used them. It's like, oh, I felt really good. It's like, if only like I had pushed some of those back because like that first draft that I was in ended up being like, oh, these guys, now we have boom bust, and it's like, oh, the guys coming in the draft, like the guys from we got from that draft are still good, like, not good, but like they're not like, oh, these are terrible, unplayable guys,
mm-hmm.
compared to the rookies now. But it's like there is, they are a step behind kind of thing, where it's like, you know, oh, if we had that many picks now, like, it would be a completely different thing of like, we still wouldn't be like a playoff team, but it's like, oh, we'd be in such a different spot, and like the future would be so much brighter just because of,
Yeah.
you know, rookies now, compared to rookies 2 years ago, are, just like the ceiling's higher.
Mm-hmm.
The kind of starting point is higher. Um, so, yeah, but like, I don't know. I was looking. We have a good, I guess war chest of picks. We kind of sacrificed. I don't think we have any picks in the fifth or sixth. But like we have. Here, let me pull it up. We have 2 seconds. We have 2/3. We have enough picks where it's like, oh, we're not like just with our own picks.
Mm-hmm.
So we got some. We got a nice little war chest, I guess.
Yeah.
Yeah, 2 seconds, 2/3, 2/4, and 2/7 this year, along with our first. And then next year, it's 2 seconds, 2/3, our fourth, our fifth, our seventh, and our first.
Yeah.
Where it's like, oh, it's like we're not picking twice in the first round, which would be great, but it's like, you can do something with those, mid-round picks.
Yeah. Well, I think, and don't you have? I think you have 6 of the top 100, and then you also have
I think so.
And then you also have 101. So it's like you have 6 of the top 100, and then the very next one. So practically 7.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, and we've seen from Detroit and a couple of the teams what you can do with a single draft. So that's a lot of ammo.
Yeah, I'll see. I'll have to talk. I have a new coach, so I'll have to talk to him and kind of, see. But like, I'm also open to trading. Obviously we'll get into pick 3, which like, I'm open to doing anything. But like, I'm also open to trading like, our second this year back because like, I've really enjoyed like the 5th, 6th, 7th round.
Mm-hmm.
I feel like I've done obviously. The players you get, in those rounds are only going to be so good. But I feel like, relative to what's kind of expected in those rounds, I've done a good job.
Yeah.
There, where it's like, those picks are like, when I first got here, it's like, oh, yeah, I'll throw in, our 6th round pick. Like, whatever, that's not going to matter. It's like, oh, yeah, like, it's nice to use that in a trade to get, an extra 3rd round pick. But like, that pick maybe it's not this way, and maybe I should just throw it away. But it's like, I feel like maybe that pick has a little bit more value in my hands than just like like if if I'm looking like in the NFL, it's like, oh, 6th round pick, it's like, oh, why would Denver want to hold on to the 6th round pick? But also they don't have I can't say like, oh, they maybe they are drafting straight 80s in the 6th if they keep all their 6th round picks. We just don't know.
Yeah. Well, it helps when the 6 is the first pick you have because then you can spend all your points on the day 3 guys. But yeah, I totally agree. I think those day three picks are no longer like just kind of a toss away. Like that. There's some real value, um, especially if you can get a couple together and then feel like you have some flexibility of like I think multiple years I've had like a couple sixth and a seventh and then bundled them for like a fifth round pick where it's like, oh, when you start day three, then you kind of reconfigure your list.
Yeah.
And we're like, oh, these are guys I think have some real value. And
there's something to be said of like knowing who's on the board, like like, oh, like out of all the players, these are the guys available. It's like, oh, we have the fifth pick this day. Out of all these players, there's only going to be, we're not going to have our pick of 5 of them. It's like, oh, knowing for sure, like, hey, this is who's available in like, tomorrow's, day 3. I have 24 hours or whatever to, draft, study and kind of scout these guys where it's like, oh, if I'm, in the start of the 6th round, it's like, I can kind of, be like, maybe these guys will be available, but you don't know. And it's like, then when it gets around, it's like, oh, now I got to start scouting 10 picks before because like, I don't want to waste all these picks on guys that are, not going to be there.
Yeah.
And that's something that like, the first round pick is so valuable. So like, that's not something I've experienced, in my time being an owner, but it's like, oh, when you get down to the, 20th pick or like the 25th pick, it's like, I gotta get value out of this pick, but it's like, who, and also like you can expect who's going to be the top guys, but it's like there's always a good amount of guys who go much earlier than like you would expect and end up being really good. So it's like, am I going to, spend these scouting points on people who, there's a chance, hey, this guy's not going to be there, or it's like, or maybe you spend all your scouting points and it's like, oh, this guy who I thought was going to go, in the top 10 has fallen all the way to me. I don't have any scouting points. I know nothing about him. Do I take this guy who it's like, I know what he is, or it's like, oh, there's a reason these guys passed on him, but it's like, oh, he was, there's also a reason I expected him to go this high. Do you take that shot in the dark?
Yeah.
It's, I love the draft, but it's like, oh, it's a completely different games, picking, at the start of, the first round versus the end. It's like,
oh yeah.
There's so many different things, it's crazy. I said with money, it's like, I hope one day where, even if we lose in the Super Bowl, it's like, oh, I get the 31st pick. That's, very fun. That's going to be awesome, scouting for that and, kind of, strategizing around that.
Yeah. Yeah. It's fun. I always over prepare for the draft. And it's funny to have just so much work put into this is what my plan's going to be. And then just see how quickly you have to throw most of that out. Yeah, I keep going back. I think the first year of Boom Bust, when a bunch of us all wanted Vince Gresham, and we were all in like the mid-teens picks, and thinking who was going to get him first, and then he went at 5, and I'm just being like, oh well, that I never had a chance to that guy. I didn't know it at the time, but I had absolutely no chance of landing him. And then having to pivot really quick. And then, yeah, to your point, then the farther down you go, the wider the variance goes. Because you could have scouted a guy that you feel is, halfway decent. But if he's the only guy you know of left, you're like, well, I'll take halfway decent over a shot in the complete dark. Or sometimes I've been between 2 guys in like the 4th or 5th round. I pick one, and the other guy's still there in like the 6th. And it's like, I don't know if no one looked at this guy, if I overvalued him, if I'm just lucky. But yeah, I feel like the swings get even bigger the farther you go in the draft.
Yeah, that was something that happened in one of our drafts. I can't remember who the player was, but it's like there was this one guy that was falling. It's like, oh, we can do without this guy, but it's like, at some point somebody's got to pick him. It's like, oh, we don't have enough to scout him. It's like, at what point, at what point do you take it and just be like, like, especially when you don't have any information, it's like, do you want to miss out on this guy who, yeah, maybe he's got this big debilitating flaw, but, there's a very, the reason he was ranked top 5, there was a reason, there's a good chance that there is still something there.
Yeah.
And, like when you don't have any information, I don't know. I think it becomes a very fun conversation of like, you know, like, oh, this guy is going to be decent. I could just take, this guy who, he'll be a solid contributor, but he'll never be anything too special. And it's like, but like, it's the Family Guy thing. It's like, oh, it could be a boat. It's like you never, you know.
Yep. These. Yeah, I joke with that with players all the time. Like, oh, I have a good player, but I could trade it for picks, and some picks turn into good players. Yeah.
I feel like
Yeah.
in NBA, I see myself kind of coming like I trade my picks in the NBA more often because like I was committed. I was like, oh, I'm gonna go all in. I'm gonna win now. So I haven't had too many picks, but like in NBA, and I've been trying to take this mindset into the NFL, but like in NBA, I just like I don't look at the overall pretty much at all. It's like, oh, I'm gonna look at the attributes. It's like, oh, my kind of like style is like I get a guy who can defend, and rebound. It's like, oh, he can play. I could just have him, barely shoot. It's like, oh, that's going to be very valuable for me. It's like, kind of like locking in on the skill sets of the person rather than the overall. It's like, oh, if this guy can't shoot the 3-pointer, it's I won't have him shoot the 3-pointer. And I feel like in NBA, it's very cut and dry where it's like, oh, you can have a guy just not do the things he's not good at. Like to an extent, it's like, oh, every player has to have at least 1% in their, shot proportion. But it's like, at the end of the day, that's still a very small amount. Like you can have a guy just not shoot. In the NFL, it's just like much more of like well, you can't say, oh, this guy's not going to defend the run because he has bad run defense. I'll just take him out. He's going to get, he's going to be on the field and teams are going to run the ball. It's like, oh, that's not something I can cover up. But it's like maybe the speed, on a running back is not as valuable. Maybe, if like I'll take a lower overall guy, but he's got higher agility and, lower strength. It's like I won't run into the outside. That's something you can control. Yeah. You won't run into the outside, and that kind of masks that deficiency in his game. So, in that case, he plays above his overall because the overall takes that into account.
Yeah.
So that's something that I'm trying to get better of just like not seeing the entire player, I guess, and like seeing like, what is this player's strengths and like how can I mask, what they aren't good at. It's like, oh, obviously, the very obvious ones are like, oh, this guy doesn't have a lot of throw power. We won't throw the ball deep as much. But it's like, you can kind of find that stuff, in different places. And I think that's how you kind of, that's how you quote unquote win. It's like that's how you find the value, find value, players that are undervalued, I guess. Kind of sim Moneyball, I guess.
Yeah. Yeah, making the best with what you have. Yeah, I think there's a general assumption that because we can see overalls, especially very quickly after a draft, that it's a little more cut and dried. And I mean, sure, there's a positive correlation there. There should be, but yeah, it's not always as obvious in terms of who's going to be good, who's going to produce. Yeah, I think it comes down to individual attributes. I think it comes down to scheme fits and usage and all kinds of stuff. Because even that first week after the draft, it's like, oh, well, you got these 2 high overall guys. And it's like, oh, but well, and also like, what's your team like? What is that person going to sit on the bench? Are they going to be a starter? Are they going to be a special teams guy? How long do you have to wait to get them active? Like, there's a wide spectrum of what guys are capable of before even considering the randomness of the sim. And as overalls, as more and more pool players get sifted out or regress and retire compared to more and more of these boom bust draft guys coming in and progressing into prime, and as overalls creep higher, it's going to be more important to delineate the attributes because it's not going to be, oh, this guy's 15 points better than this guy anymore. It's going to be, well, this guy's a 74 and this guy's a 76. Well, where can I get my most money's worth? It's going to get less and less obvious, I think, at a glance, who's good and who's worth playing.
And I like that, like, if you have a team full of 99 overalls, it's going to be better than a team full of 50 overalls. But it's like, an 80 overall and a 73 overall. It's like a 73 overall could perform better. Like that is very, like that's not like a completely unreasonable thing to say like, oh, just because he's 7 points higher in overall,
Mm-hmm.
this guy for sure is the best. He's going to perform better. He's going to put up better numbers. Like even if you put them in the same offense, it's like, well, this guy just, the way that his overalls are distributed, even if, they add up and they aren't as much, it's just better than this guy who, you know, the the overall formula says this guy's better, but at the end of the day, the game's played, and when you run it through the engine, he's not as good.
Mm-hmm.
I like that. Like, in Madden, it's like, oh, you get a higher overall guy. He's better.
Mm-hmm.
It's there is no like, like there is no like, oh, well, this guy isn't as good, but he can find his role. You
Mm-hmm.
know.
Well, and to your point, like especially with guys like linebackers and tight ends, like their overall is calculated based on a bunch of different attributes, not all of which they're going to use. You're not going to have your run stopper dropping into coverage. He's probably going to be on the line of scrimmage and rushing, every time, or vice
Mm-hmm.
versa. Um, so yeah, a lot of guys their overall is calculated based on attributes that you don't need or can work around. Um,
Yeah.
and maybe that's only 10% of it, but like you say, when you start to get slimmer margins, it's that 10% is going to matter a lot. So, what's it like having a staff now? So you say you're an owner now. Now you have a coach. What's it like having multiple members of an organization and spreading that work out among like real life people?
I think so. Like, when I was with Dearden, I kind of like I like kind of like not being like, oh, well, you're going, this is your job. You're gonna focus on this. I'll focus on this stuff. I like, all right, well, you were gonna have a discussion about everything. You know, who are we gonna draft? Well, let's talk about it. Let's you like this guy, I like this guy. We'll make our case, and we'll at the end of the day, at the end of the day, I am the owner, so I do have final say. So like that kind of tips the scale, but it's like if like with Dearden and with I think I'm still learning his username. I think it's Tommy Gunner.
Tommy
Yeah,
Gunner.
Tommy Gunner. It's you know, hey, I might not agree. Like one thing that we're going to have a discussion about is we have a fullback, and I think that he's better off as a tight end. Craig Crosby. I think he would be better off as a tight end, and he says he thinks it'll be better off as running back. Like, we'll talk about it. We'll see, and we'll kind of make our cases. At the end of the day, like, I can, I'm not unreasonable. Like, if you kind of put forth a good like argument for like, hey, I don't think it's this way. I think it's better to do it this way. You know, yeah, that's the way I'll do it. Where it's so it's like I don't know, kind of like you got to have, he is in the interface a coach because I can't have everyone just be like, oh, we're all owners.
Mm.
But like I see it as like a, we're this is like a kind of a co-ownership
A
where it's like,
partnership.
oh, you're gonna
Yeah.
have, you're gonna have your input, and it's not just gonna be me where it's like, oh, well, I'm the owner. We're gonna do it this way. Deal with it. You get in the game plan page and you make it work.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Yeah. Even for an introvert such as myself who could be very controlling. It's fun to have other people around to bounce ideas off of, and see what they think, get very different perspectives, different ideas, try new stuff out. Um, I think that's a big one of the things I like about the Pro Sim is the ability to add people onto a staff,
Mhm.
and just yeah, and talk out stuff like that. I mean, that's how I started at Old Sim, was joining the Patriots and talking with Miggy and Gigamags, who were the owner and coach respectively, and just figuring out like what do we have and how do we make it work, and what do we think we can get for it. It was a fun introduction. Um,
Yeah, and I think also like I'm very like I'm very like, oh, I had an idea pop into my head. I'll think about it quickly, and it's like, oh, I'll do it. You know, and
Mm.
it's like having somebody else on the staff. It's like, it's I kind of realize it's like it forces me to slow down and like talk to somebody else. It's like, oh, as I'm talking to somebody else and kind of explaining it and thinking through, I go like, oh, yeah, like it gives me, I guess, like time to process it and really think it through. And it's like in the middle of like writing a message, sometimes I'll be like, well, why was I ever, that wouldn't have been smart. Or it's like, oh, I would have gone and pulled the trigger. It's like now that I'm like, hey, this is what I'm thinking, and it's like, all right, I'm not going to do that. I realize that that's not a good idea. Kind of forces me to slow down and, I think even if like I don't even send an idea out to them, the fact that they are there, kind of forcing me to like, you
Mm-hmm.
know, like forcing me not to be as impulsive, I think is very beneficial for me.
Yeah. Rubber duck debugging. You heard that term?
Hmm.
Yeah. Yeah. Same thing. Just by saying it or just by putting it out there, you go, oh wait, is that really? Well, what about? Or I haven't thought about this. Or you
Hmm.
come up with your own questions, uh, and then yeah, getting a different perspective on it. Um,
That's I know people clown on me for like the long messages, but it's like, oh, that's kind of me doing that on my own, where it's like, oh, if I write it down like this, it's like I can kind of look through my process, and it's like very good evaluation kind of thing, where
mm,
it's like I see I could go wrong. It's like, oh, I send it in the chat because it's like at the end, at the end when I'm like, all right, I know the plan going forward, I know what I want to do. It's like I got this whole thing typed out. It's like, sure, I'll put it, in the chat. Maybe somebody's interested. It's like somebody doesn't want to read it, they can just scroll past.
mm,
It's like, oh, I got this whole thing typed out. Maybe, these like, people who are, thinking the same way of me, who have this interest in this thing, would like to kind of see that, and like, maybe it would be fun just to put it out there.
mm-hmm.
It's like, oh, it's no extra effort for me once I, type all this out of like, thinking about, how I'm going to game plan, or is like what I want to, what I want to change for my offense, or just evaluating, our last game. It's like, oh, well, it's like all I have to do is press enter, in Discord, and,
Right. It's already
it's there.
there.
It's no extra work.
Yeah, yeah. As someone who uses way too many parenthetical expressions all the time, because every thought has a bullet and then a sub bullet and then a qualifier and then an explanation, I feel for you, because it's the same thing. It's like, no, I need you to understand the full breadth of what, like, I try to pack as much data as I can into every single word and every single sentence, um,
Hmm.
and
And
sometimes.
also I have ADHD, so it's very good of just like, if I'm not writing it down, I get distracted, and then, I'm never getting back to that,
Yeah.
sometimes. So it's like, if I have it written down, it's like, oh, I can go off and I can do whatever for, 10 minutes. And I come back and I look, and it's, oh, this is what I was thinking. It's like, I could read through and just like, be like, all right, that's where I was, let me kind of continue,
Hmm.
thinking this through.
Yeah, yeah. Ever since my son got diagnosed with ADHD, and I've been reading up on it, I'm like, huh, okay, that's good. That's very applicable. Or just be like, people with ADHD do this, and I'm like, wait, doesn't everybody do that? Oh, that's interesting. Okay, hmm. Okay, we're just gonna file that away for later.
Yeah, no. My dad, he found out he had ADHD just because I was diagnosed with ADHD, and like, throughout that whole process of just like, people tell, professionals being like, this is how ADHD works, this is how people kind of think, this is what they need. He's like, oh, and the wheels start turning. It's like, that sounds very similar. That might
Hmm.
be, maybe I got to follow up on this later. It's like, then you follow up, and then you get diagnosed, and then you get medicated, and like everyone has a different response, but it's like, just like he's a lawyer, it's like, he talks about like, you know it has really helped him, just like, kind of I can't speak fully for his, but just like helped
Sure.
him just like remain, on task, and just in so many different ways, just kind of improved his, I guess, efficiency. It just
Yeah.
like, oh, I'm so much better at just like, doing the things that I want to do and like doing the things I have to do because of it.
Yeah.
So it's
Yeah, it's a weird moment to be like, oh, I only have one baseline for how my brain works because this is the only brain I have had and will ever have, and so I just sort of assume that everything that it does is normal because I have no other frame of reference.
yeah.
And then the first time you introduce a thought of, well, maybe maybe some things are easier, or maybe some things are less complicated, or maybe some things have fewer steps. You're like, oh, that would be interesting, wouldn't it?
Hmm.
um,
Obviously I had it with ADHD, but a more like tangible thing is like, oh, I'm lactose intolerant, and I did not know until I was, in my second year of high school. And it's like,
wow.
oh, cheese doesn't just, that's not, a thing cheese does. It doesn't just make you, you know, do that.
Yeah.
That's not normal. It's just like, nobody ever sits you down and goes like, this is the way things are. This is what feels normal. If you are off of this, that is not normal. There is something that's making that happen. It's very like, it's like very easy to like, oh, well, how did you go your, half your life without knowing you were lactose intolerant? Well, nobody ever told me. Like, how was I supposed to know that this isn't, the way just things are? I kind of just assume, my lived experience. I feel like everyone, they just assume that, their lived experiences is everyone's lived experiences. Everyone goes into, you like, if I'm meeting somebody, he knows everything I do. It's like, this is, normal. But there is no real normal.
Yeah.
I feel like that's also something where it's like, even in real life, I'm just trying to like, in my, I'm trying to get into computer science and programming, and it's like, kind of keeping it of like, well, I don't know certain things. It's like I got kind of gotta like, I gotta talk to people and be like, what is this like? Like, I feel like I don't know anything. Is that kind of normal? I don't know. There's a lot of things. Living is a weird thing.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Yeah. I know it sounds very internet of me to talk about adulting as a verb, but yeah, man, no one tells you how much just getting through every day is work, or how hard it is to decide what you're going to eat for dinner every single night for the rest of your life. Or just like how little basic decisions can pile up and add to decision fatigue.
Yeah. It's the same thing with me. I hate the term adulting, but it's like, oh, change. Everyone's got to know. Like, eventually, you're gonna have to know how to change a tire. And that is kind of like, I can't really think of a better way to describe like stuff of like, how to, how to cook. And it's like I can't think of a better way to describe all of that stuff as like than adulting. As much as I hate the word, it's it is something, and it's that's not something that you can just like pick up. Somebody has to teach you.
Yeah. And you talked about normal. For my sisters and I growing up with a dad who was a preacher, it was normal to move every 2 or 3 years, and it was normal to go to Sunday school, Sunday church, Sunday night church, Wednesday night church, to go to chapel, to have Bible class in school, and then as an adult you're like, wow, that was like 10 times a week that we went to church. Like, that's a lot. That's a lot. But when you're 8 years old, that's just what life is. That's just what you do.
Yeah.
And you understand that not everyone's dad is a preacher, but it still doesn't click in that like people have vastly different experiences than you are having.
Yeah. And it doesn't click until like you're much older and you're talking and you're explaining that situation to somebody else, and they go, huh, that's weird, and they move on, and you're like, you sit there and like, that is weird. That is like that. I never really thought of it, but like that is not like, why did I just like assume that's kind of the way it was for everyone?
One of my favorite comedians, Taylor Tomlinson, has a great bit in one of her early stand-up specials about telling a story that she thought was funny and then realizing that everyone would get sad every time she would tell it. Which I don't think I have too many of that. But yeah, it's. Oh, I remember what I was going to say. Yeah, like when my when I go to visit my in-laws, when my wife goes to visit her family, we go back to the home that she grew up in as a kid, and that's just such a wild concept to me. Who lived in 6 houses by the time I was 16, to be like, oh, this is the room. You grew up in a room,
Yeah.
and now you can go back and visit that room because your family is still there. It like I can't even list all the addresses of the places all the houses I lived in. So
And
yeah.
I think a weird kind of other side to that is like there's some things the other ways where it's like, oh, movie cliches of just like, I live in Florida, so there is no snow, but like, oh, snow days. It's like, when I was younger, it's like that was, I didn't really, I see that in movies and I see snow. It's like, oh, school's canceled. It never really like it
Mm,
didn't click for me until much later. It's like, oh, that's an actual thing people experience. It's like I
yeah.
thought that was just a movie thing, where it's like, oh, school's canceled, too much snow,
Hmm. Yeah.
but it's like I don't know, so crazy of just like, people are living these, completely different worlds that like, you will never understand, you
Hmm.
know?
Yeah. Yeah. Moving from Southern Ohio to Boston to go to college was an experience because people there were not afraid of snow. Like, were not bothered
Mhm.
when they were like, "Oh yeah, we're getting 12 inches this weekend." It's like, of snow, but and just the way the weather works up there, they almost never get thunderstorms, just almost ever. And the first time anyone in Boston ever saw a bolt of lightning and freaked out and ran inside like they were gonna die, and I was like, "Oh, good, a thunderstorm. I've missed those." People thought I was crazy. Or again, my wife being from the Northeast, moved to Ohio, and at noon on the first Wednesday of the month, the sirens go off, and she's like, "What's happened?" I'm like, it's just a test. It's fine." Um, but tornadoes are a real thing, and we should be prepared for that. Yeah, just
Mhm.
different life experiences, just a few hundred miles away. Um, yeah, and then I experienced thunder snow, which is its own thing, which is I feel like that one's pretty heavy localized and pretty rare. But that's a thing that
Yeah,
happens.
I feel like another, in the same vein as that, like I was up in Vancouver very recently, and like the entire, I was there for 3 days, and it rained the entire time, and I was on the bus talking to somebody, and it's like, yeah, we're in an atmospheric ocean. It's like, yeah, like I must have given her a weird look. She's like, yeah, nobody, I didn't even know what that was until I moved here, but it's exactly what it sounds like. There's an ocean in the atmosphere, and it's gonna rain for like a week. It's just it's gonna be nothing but rain for a week.
Yeah. There's a picture I've seen on the internet of two guys. I think it's in Egypt, and one of them has a huge thing of snow, and he's about to dunk it on a dude who's like not paying attention. And someone says it's funnier if you understand that Egypt hasn't seen snow in 110 years. Oh man.
I don't know. I feel like I'm sure you said you've moved. You had moved all these times when you were a kid, so it's probably different for you. But like, me sitting here, it's like, oh, I can't imagine living anywhere else just because like
Mm-hmm.
like this isn't the house I've grown up in is not the house I grew up in. I had several other houses, but like my family's been here for I'm 22 right now. We've been here for like 18 years, so
Mm-hmm.
it's like it's not the only house I've ever known, but it's the only house I have memories of.
Mm-hmm.
So it's like, oh, if I move somebody somewhere else, like outside of Florida, it's like, oh, well, I got to learn, everything all over again. Like, kind of being aware of like, you know, like, if you go in Maine, it's like, oh, there's things, that I could never even imagine that they have to deal with, and some of the stuff that I have to deal with here, are like not even a factor over there. It's like having to relearn that. Like, it's like, oh, I'm good where I am. There's some bad things, but it's like, I guess like the evil I know is better than the evil I don't,
Sure.
kind of thing.
Yeah. It's a thing. That's all I can say. But yeah, it was normal at the time. So you make do with what you have, I guess, is the lesson there.
Mm-hmm.
Well, I appreciate your time, Kate. It's been great to talk and catch up. We talked a little bit about the sim there, I think, at some point. So I think this counts. I don't know if we
Yeah.
if there's anything about the Cardinals, or I didn't even get to touch on Tulane at all. So if we missed anything sim wise that you want to loop back around to before we log off, you are more than welcome to.
Well, obligatory Miami sports reference. The Marlins were playing just now, and they have lost to the Braves 6-5, but and the Heat lost to the Hornets in the play-in 127-126. So if anyone feels like they're watching this and they are so upset that I have not mentioned Miami sports, there you go.
Well, your reputation is secure.
I don't want people coming out of this being like, who was that? It's like, I that is what's going on. I am still kgreene. I'm not this. I'm not putting on a mask just because I'm talking to you face to face now.
Right. Well, thank you so much for coming on the podcast and chatting with me. It's been an absolute delight to talk with you.
Thank you so much for having me. It was great.
Absolutely. Anytime. Come back anytime. Everyone at SimSN, thank you so much for watching. See you next time on the SimSN Podcast. And as I say to all users in all of our sims, good luck and have fun.